You may create your character's backstory first, then fill in their mechanics, pick their mechanics, and then fill in the backstory, or some kind of combo. But no matter what way you go about creating your character, having a solid backstory can help set yourself and your game up for success. But what makes a great backstory, and what are the mistakes you should avoid? That's what we're going to get into today. The first mistake I'm going to talk about is no reason for the mechanics. You don't need to make every mechanic of your character make sense, but there should be a reason behind the pretty major ones, like their class. If you pick feats, features, traits, whatever your system calls them, think about why and how your character learned or is able to do these things. You can keep these easy. If it's an ancestry trait, well, that's what your character grew up knowing what to do, or it's a natural talent. But especially if you have an ability that's unique or more specialized, I like to think of why they have that ability. I find it helps your character feel more like a person and less like a collection of stats. The next mistake you can make is lacking details. Look, not everyone loves to write extensive backstories, and I'm not saying you should. But having a few key details can be very helpful for you and your game master. Now, if you're just playing a dungeon crawl type game that's all about combat and treasure, and you're not going to be doing any roleplay, so the details of your backstory won't come up, well, then maybe you don't really fill in those details. But most games, you'll have those roleplay moments, and your GM may want to draw from the backstory to help create plot hooks, NPCs, even places. And having a few of these specific details will help so much with your own roleplay. I like to have the names and details of like the people who had major influences on my character in their backstory, as well as like a few key details, where they grew up, some major events, and, you know, maybe an item or artifact that is important to them, and just have that all written down so I can draw on it when it comes up and I'm not necessarily needing to remember all of these names. I want to take a quick moment to thank all of our patrons, especially Marty. If you enjoy our videos and want to help support us, head on over to patreon.com/rollforinitiative and become a patron today. Plus, you get some cool perks. The next mistake is having too much backstory. So while I encourage you to think of details, it's still good to leave some gaps in your backstory. Look, just as much as GMs can get frustrated by being given absolutely nothing in a character's backstory, if you hand your GM a small novel, well, that can be a lot for most people. Because having too much filled in your backstory can be restrictive. It doesn't allow the GM to fill in details or have flexibility that can assist them with creating plot hooks that can tie into the campaign. Plus, it's not going to give you the flexibility to improvise during roleplay. I often discover things about my character as I play them, and those gaps get filled in. That might be something just that I discover on my own, or an opportunity where another character brings something up that I go, oh, I didn't fill in the event that caused this thing that was in my character's backstory, but it would make sense that my character would also have been affected by this event. And then, hey, if the GM draws on that moment from another character's backstory as a plot hook, my character might also have some motivation to help the whole party go after that plot hook. Or it will just provide an opportunity to have kind of a shared moment between these two characters. Now, we've done a whole video talking about how to leave gaps in your backstory, so you can go check that out once you're done with this one. The next mistake I see people make is creating perfect characters. Look, your character needs room to grow. Playing a perfect character isn't going to be fun. It's not going to be fun for you, and it's probably not going to be fun for your table. You need to allow your character to have flaws, to have places that they can grow and improve. It's why most games don't start at level 20. I also like to have an idea of where I'd like my character story to go, what growth I'd like to see from them, and then I'll let my GM know this. That way they can help offer story moments for this growth or use it in their planning. Now, the last mistake I see people make, and I think this has the biggest impact on the table, is not providing a motivation in your character's backstory. Your table is going to be much happier if you have a reason for your character to be with the party and or on this adventure. Now, there are a lot of different kinds of motivation, and the GM can help you figure this out if this is something you might be struggling with. But when your character doesn't have a reason to be with the party, it can create so much unnecessary and not enjoyable tension. I also will note, I like to shy away from the money motivation because once your character gets that money, then why would they keep adventuring? However, money could be an initial motivation, and then they choose to stay with the party for a different reason, or it might be a motivation on the surface and there's a deeper motivation underneath, or maybe it's they're not a motivation that's ever going to get filled. They might say, I want X amount of money, and then once they get X amount of money, they go, oh no, I want a little bit more. I want a little bit more. So, that greed never really gets fulfilled. And so they will keep adventuring forever. Either way, having the reason your character chooses to be an adventurer figured out is going to make the game a lot more fun for everyone. So, what do you think makes a great character backstory? Did I miss anything? Let's chat about it more in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on Roll for Initiative. Bye!